Well, hi Tanya, hi Joanne.
Okay. Welcome everybody. We are here with Payal Gupta and we are in this workshop session. It's called I See You Now, Challenging Opinions Based on Stereotypes. To introduce Payal, I think most of you know her. Payal is a participant of the Samvaad project and an applied behavioral sciences professional. She has worked for over 15 years around organizational culture and conflict management and is a published author in this area. Today, she will lead us into an exploration of stereotypes through her workshop titled I See You Now. And I'm going to be pasting her long bio in the chat, as well as a few messages from our end, from Seeds of Peace. And Payal, the floor will be open to you in about 30 seconds. If you have enough time later, maybe we can take question and answers if you want, completely up to you. And I think you have your co-host rights now, do you?
Not yet. I'm not yet the co-host, but yeah, we'll
Maybe in a bit. Yeah. Okay. So the floor is open to you, Payal. Go ahead. All the best.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Pallavi. Hey, welcome everyone. Good morning on a Saturday morning. I've just stepped in with the sharings of the previous panel, and for me it was quite insightful to know about aspects which possibly I'm going to be blindsided to and would not know unless I stepped into a space like this. So I'm hoping we continue that journey to explore more of what we know, but also of what others know about us or what they assume about us. For me, really, this space is about sharing our own expressions of how are we perceived. And the focus really for me today is to look at the faith that we come from or we belong to or we feel close to. That's really what I'm going to focus on today. What will help us really is to create safety in this space. And I must tell you my own experience, and I'm sure it will be in your realms also. Any kind of conversation around faith, religion is a very sensitive thread to really work with. So I also would like us to bring the sensitivity with our own, with our own understanding of where we are coming from. So hence this place does not have one right, it has many rights because each one comes from their own right answer and their own right experience. So I'm looking at us to really look at this space to be that. What will also help is if someone has a completely contrarian view to you, just allow for it. We're not here to really look at whose perspective is right. We're really here to listen and experience and express. So I hope we can allow for all of that. With that, what I would do is just tell you about what's my focus. I have a presentation and I will, sparingly use that to see how more engaging can we look at this session. So the reason I looked at doing a workshop is I often see that it's reading material is available, talks are available, but really getting into the process of exploring interfaith, of exploring the dynamics that it brings up is a very rare space. I didn't find too much of that. So I thought when I'm entering into this journey, I would like to get into the reflective and the doing with the group. That's really why I looked at that. So really my focus today is to look at one lens of faith, which I have looked at as injunctions. And I'll tell you what injunctions are in a bit as we go along. It is also about looking at where are our beliefs coming from, what are these life experiences coming up, from where we shrink or we expand depending on the faith we represent. And hence look at, how does this entire aspect of faith bring in oppression, which is complete latent. Sometimes it's as if it's existing in the air and we have no clue where it shows up from. And it is there as a part of the universal unconscious. So my intent is to look at both of that. So let's begin with, you will have to help me with screen sharing, Pallavi. So I'd like us to do a little check-in, and in the check-in, respond to. So I'm going to put up the question here as Pallavi gets me to get the screen share rights. So here is a check-in question for all of you. What is the metaphor you have of the faith you follow? Now, I'm saying faith you follow because you may be born into a particular faith, but may or may not be following that faith. You may also be following no faith, and that's also an identity. So what is the metaphor that you have about the faith you follow? It could be about how it makes you feel. It could be about how it impacts you. It could also be about what it means to your life. So I really want you to look at that metaphor. Yeah, for the ones who've just come in, I'm just putting up a check-in question. And the check-in question is, what is the metaphor you have of the faith you follow? So just think of what is the metaphor that comes to you. And I can tell you about myself. The metaphor that I have of the faith that I follow is that of a mountain. Sometimes I feel a lot of strength coming from it. Sometimes when I feel that I need protection, I go close to the mountain, a sense of security, a sense of sturdiness, a sense of groundedness. So that's what I experience my faith bringing to me. It also gives me a sense of sometimes nourishment and protection when I surrender. Yeah. Okay. So let's hear from who wishes. Yeah. Okay. I'll put this up later. So for all of you who've stepped in, I've just put in a check-in question, which is what is the metaphor that you have for the faith you follow? Okay. Whoever wishes to go. And if you feel comfortable about putting that on the chat, we will look at it on the chat also. I'll wait for yours. And this is a workshop. So workshop is experiential, interactive. I'd like to hear your voices, share dialogue with each other.
Hi everybody. I'm Tanya, and thank you everybody for being here. So my answer to the question that Payal asked would be a long road, which perhaps could mean maybe there's just no direction, but a road still, like there's a direction. I don't know if I make sense, but yeah, that's what it's for me, and I would love to hear what others have to say. Thank you.
I can we hear Kanda saying a comforting embrace. Okay.
I can share, Payal. So, exploring faith is extremely new to me. I am still trying to understand what it means to me. But if I have to put it as a metaphor, it's mostly, I always see it as some divine light or an aura which is shining on me from above. That's the metaphor that at least has some healing power for me, and I feel strength and I feel anchored with the metaphor.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to call out when I'm saying faith, what I'm meaning. Faith may or may not be the religion that you're born in. It could be what you are pursuing as a faith. So you may be born in a particular religion, but you are may not be, pursuing that as your faith. It could be the same religion that you're born into. I am getting some questions on chat, so I thought I'll just put that out. Thanks, Prachi, for sharing, and thanks for the ones who are seeking this clarity. So yes, we've had some voices come in. Anyone else wants to share? Are you trying to share, Ms. Rebello? Yeah, one sec. Pallavi, could you unmute her, please? Are you able to unmute her?
Joan ma'am, I've sent you a request to unmute. You'll have to accept that.
Yes, Prajwal. I hope that helped when I just shared what I'm meaning by faith here.
Can I share?
Yes, please. Yes.
For me, my faith is, being able to connect the finite in me with.
I heard you say to be able to connect the finite in you. Thank you. Okay. So if if these thoughts, these images keep coming to you about your faith as we go along, please put that up in the chat and we will keep this alive for us, because our faith really has a sense of purpose in our life. And it brings some amount of safety, some amount of belongingness and inclusion. And I'd like you to just keep looking at what's the metaphor that it shows up for you. All right. So yeah, let me just move ahead. So what I want to do is I want to get us into a group space and I want to look at something called injunctions. So what are injunctions? Injunctions are commands that we internalize. Since we have grown up, we would have heard many injunctions and commands about what the community and the society looks at us. So let me give you an example. When I was born as a human being. I became a woman because the world sees me as a woman and somebody else as a man. I became a Gupta because I'm born into the family and the community gave me the tag of a Gupta. And hence I become a Hindu. Now, because I am a girl, a Hindu, a Gupta, my particular focusing on faith, my faith is seen in a particular way by people. So I want to look at injunctions based on faith. So, what are the commands and the injunctions the world has told us about the faith that we belong to or we represent? So, for example, I'll give you a little bit about myself. I am seen as a Marwadi. So, Marwadis are assumed, the world has given us, or many people have given us the injunction of kanjus, which is stingy. It comes from somewhere, and I don't know where it comes from unless I really dug it up. So, I want us to look at what are the injunctions we have grown up with basis the faith that we have represented. So here is what I'd like us to do. What are the injunctions about our faith, those that we have internalized? So I have not internalized the Kanjus injunction for myself, but I have definitely internalized that a Marwadi is supposed to be a business person. A Marwadi is not an employee material. These are some injunctions that I have internalized and many more. So what I'd like you to do is I will put you into groups. And here is where I'm now going to be just wondering, how do I put you into groups? Because you all are a varied group. So we will put you into mixed groups. I want to put you into mixed groups. And in these mixed groups, I'd like you to share with each other what are some of the sayings you have heard about your faith. They would be explicit, they would be implicit, just like the one that I said. And when was the first time you heard about this and from whom? So I remember hearing this entire piece of Marwadi is supposed to be a business person and does not get employed from one of my uncles. And he was telling us that, whenever you look at what you want to do in life, it is really about, employing others, not becoming someone's employee. And how have you noticed some of these injunctions? How have you noticed people reacting to this? So it could be either creating an inclusion or exclusion because you belong to your faith. So because I'm a Marwadi, I may be excluded or included in some ways in society, in groups. I right now stay in a community, in a society where there are a lot of people who belong to the Iyengar community, and I am possibly the only Marwadi here. So sometimes when I see they're having some celebrations, I seek permission. Can I not? Can I enter this space? Because I don't know if I belong here. And when people look at me, first thing they ask me is, "Oh, you're new person here. What is your name?" And they don't just ask me my name; they ask me my full name. So I know where they're heading. And so, basis the community that we come from, we also start behaving in a certain way because we've heard about these injunctions that have been internalized. We start behaving in a certain way. We consider this to be safe or not safe for us. So I'll put you into random breakout rooms, and I'd like you to share this with each other. Somebody stop my screen.
Can you can you see the breakout rooms? Are you able to make people join certain breakout rooms?
Okay, so I don't think we'll be able to do that because this is the larger breakout room. Okay, So we will work in this room, Pallavi, then.
So we have
I don't-
WB1, WB2, and WB3.
Okay.
Is everybody able to see those on their screens?
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. So you can just join it if you want, or if Payal, you can work in this room. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, we'll try. Okay. So I'm going to put up these questions up on the chat for us to start exploring this discussion. And because it's a workshop is less about teaching and more about exploration with the group. So here are my questions up for all of you. I'm going to repeat what we're saying. We're saying, what are the sayings you've heard about the faith that you represent? They could be implicit, they could be explicit. When I say implicit and explicit, I'm saying some of them could be very blatantly told to you. Some of them may not be blatantly told to you, but you can see the mannerisms of people. For example, I have an aunt who eats non-veg. She belongs to a different faith. So when she enters some of my space, I know my dadi is doing something. I know my dadi is checking on what all can be kept away and cannot be kept away, because her assumption of the faith she comes from is non-veg not allowed in our house and so on and so forth. So she has internalized some of this. So I'm looking at what are the faiths that, for what are the commands that you've looked at and internalized about your faith. When was the first time you heard it and from whom? And how have you noticed people reacting to you because of the faith you come from? Yeah? Sometimes the reactions are very obvious and sometimes they are not. But that creates an inclusion and exclusion process. And how do these sayings impact your own behavior? Like I know my mom would not enter some spaces and would enter some spaces. And I know that she also, when I was young, she would take us along to some spaces and not, because she would think it's not okay and it's okay. So she would never take me to a space where there is a lot of non-veg food. She would not enter a restaurant where there is non-vegetarian food because something about that did that to her. But I was completely okay, still not allowed until unless I took up my own responsibility and said, I want. Any questions on the questions before we get into breakout groups?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Meeta.
Yeah, there's this ongoing debate and sort of, a misleading thing happening about food, like you just mentioned, right? So, normally, I just share my experience. I come from a household where out of choice, I don't eat non-veg. My husband and even the rest of my family members eat, and we are Hindus by faith, right? So it's got nothing. But when it comes to the public debate, suddenly, right? In other times, they're all okay eating the same thing in my homes and all. But when it comes to the public debate or talking about it, there is suddenly a holier than thou attitude. And I see this reflected not just over here. I mean, I'm very sorry to say this. Adults, mature adults, as old as probably 60s and 70s, put on this kind of behavior. But it is also seeping into the younger mind who apparently had no issues about this, right? But now I see that the polarization is much more. Since I teach classrooms, that we do have a lot of talk about food and culture, and I see that the polarization is much more now than it was a few years ago. I've been teaching for 26 years now.
Yeah. So Meda, I hear you, and you know what you're sharing is one of your experience of the duality. What you believe in and what you're seeing is contrarian, and that is also the polarization. And if I were to say, looking at an either or, it's not looking at that both coexist. So our intent of these conversations is also to look at how is this either or emerging in our own lives and how are we dealing with it. Yeah, because like I gave you the example of my mother and me, there is that the either or, and there is me the and then there will be possibly the generation which is coming in which will not. So I don't know where it comes from in terms of generations, but let's look at sharing our experiences.
Yeah, I'll just add one point over here. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think I have an answer to where these kind of dualities come from. It comes from because I think the generations before us, probably forgot to read a lot or to understand. So when it comes to like I'll say very clearly. So when it comes to somebody who's of a particular, it even gets related to the political parties. I mean, I'm a part of what you call the high society, the low districts. I move around with everybody. I work with the children from the slums, the women from the slums. But what I see is, this kind of a hypocrisy stems more in the upper classes, right? So where, they belong to a particular political party, and in those discussions over there, they would say, go around to Fufu saying, okay, we don't sort of, we don't drink, we don't do this. And it's got nothing to do with religions and all, it's basically a choice. That's how you have to look at it. I mean, I personally believe that way. But this is what is happening. And, this is what you call the hypocrisy that we are all pushing under the carpet. And I have
Maybe
probably had, arguments with most of the people saying, why do you want to do it? I mean, you eat, you say, I eat, I don't eat. So when it's with a particular group, you try to hide it. And when I think this duality and this hypocrisy must be brought to the fore. And this is what we have to, train our young minds, that please don't be like this about it.
Nida, I see you feel very passionately about this of not standing in the way of choices that others make. I think what we can do in a space like this is just offer how it makes us feel. Because while you are one voice, there may be many other voices which may be holding that, and it comes from a space. I am no one to judge of why they come from there. Maybe one reason is, like you said, that they may not have read enough, but maybe that also brought them safety during their times. Maybe there wasn't enough support system like you and me have to be able to go out there and say, no, this is what I believe in. So there is a lot of that backdrop which sometimes you and I may not be attuned to. And hence, I would like us also to hold them with some amount of, some amount of sensitivity. Because I remember when I was young and my dadi used to, take water and put around her plate. As a youngster, I used to laugh and think, why is she putting this water around her plate? And I would tell her, we've just done everything, we've cleaned everything. But she came from a context where she lived in a mud house. And the putting the water around that stops the
it had a
piece of.
scientific principle. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It had a what you call a
It's
very
talking
environmental and a
instinct.
scientific principle. Right.
Yeah. So,
It will
so
stop.
all that I'm requesting is maybe it's helpful to listen to the voice of the other. Right now, it is your experience and your voice. So in this group, when you get into it, will help for you to do that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Maybe
Payal.
we'll pause for 15 seconds because you'll have to go to the main room, get your co-host rights, and then join back.
Yeah, Payal,
Okay.
I can't make you co-host over here. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So I'll just request all of you, can I just get you to get into 2 breakout rooms?
I also said hi in the morning. It's a hi morning.
So can I request the ones who, so I'm just looking at the participant names, which is if you click on participants, you will see your names there. Can we just use WB1 and WB2? WB1 for Ms. Rebello, Pallavi, Thomas, there is a Das, there is Ganda. Can I request all of you to get into WB1? And the rest of you from Medha, Prachi, Prajwal, the ones below, which is, I think, starting from letter P, to get into breakout room 2, which is WB2. So A up until G, please get into your names, which is A up until G to WB1, and the ones below, which is P below, please get into WB2. And please explore these questions. The questions are put up on chat, and for the ones who don't have it, I'll put this up again. Medha, could you mute yourself?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do that, right? Yeah.
Can I get all of Miss Joanne, Baiju, Thomas, Das? Can I get you to please get on to WB1? There's Ganda waiting for you all. Ganda is back, I think.
I came back to copy your notes so that I could, put them on the new group.
Yeah.
Because once I go there, I don't find
You won't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I'll just copy them.
Yeah. You will have Baiju there.
Yeah, I went to the room and.
Thanks, Ganda.
Payal, are you co-host now?
No, I can't be. I haven't gone there. So I'm just going to put everybody into the breakout room and then I'll. Yeah. I can't see this. Mr. Barve, could you please take into a breakout room? Prachi, can you get into WB1? Yeah, great.
WB1, okay?
Yeah, you can go to WB1. And can I request you in 15 minutes, can you get all of them back?
Yeah.
1-5, yeah. Um,
See it.
Great. Okay.
Hi, everyone. So this is what, 5 of us here. Okay. If you have any questions for Payal, maybe you could list all of them down in the chat here, and we'll wait for her to join us while she gets her co-host rights. You can also take a water or washroom break.
I will get a glass of water. I'll be back in a minute.
Hi. So what I had suggested was that, can you hear me? Yeah. So what I had
Yes, fine.
suggested was there are these questions that I have put up. I'm putting it up here again. I'd like you to talk about it for yourself and share that with each other. For example, what are the sayings that you have heard about the faith that you represent? You may have heard people talk about, the faith that you represent in a certain way. So what do you hear others talk about your faith? They may be labeling it in a certain way. They may be say, and they could be good labels and not good labels, whatever that is. So I'd like you to share that. And then when was the first time you heard this? If you remember it, when was the first time you heard it and who did you hear it from? It could be a person you know, it could be the television, it could be your neighbor, teacher, we don't know. And then how have you noticed people reacting to you because of your faith? So either an inclusion or an exclusion process because of the faith that you represent. And so because of the faith that you represent and these things that you have heard, how has your behavior changed in society, in the community? It could be your behavior and your families, or if you just have the insight into your behavior, that. So I'd like you to share that with each other. Any questions? Please start. We have approximately 15 minutes.
Okay.
Prachi, would you like to start?
Can I say something?
Yes. Now that I pause and think, the list is very long of what all I have heard from a very, very young age. I'm not able to really differentiate if it is a function of just my faith. I think it's overall the social come family come faith kind of a combination. So few things that I remember clearly is people asking me like, okay, you are so and so, other siblings. I would say I have an elder sister. Okay, no brothers. So, and I still hear that. My mom was recently hospitalized and like, don't have brothers. That's why you have to take care of your mom because you don't have brothers. So, and that thing I think I got used to it. In my own family, first time I heard it about maybe a family friend or somebody who was known to the family at a very, very young age. And I saw the contrast that my family doesn't see it that way. It's the outsiders who have certain assumptions about my parents having only girl child, both the girl child, right? So that is one thing that I remember stands out. How it affected me is, I think I was extremely mindful of watching how is that playing out for my friends and for myself when I was growing up, because I started noticing how it plays out when uh, my friend who's a girl gets permission to go for overnight treks, and the brothers do get that permission, and I would tell her that you should question it, you should convince your mother, and then I understood it was probably not my space to say or comment on. It was her own journey. So that is one thing that I can think of, and many such related examples about this. And something about my faith also, which came from my parents, I think very, very early, is because we belong to certain religion or certain caste, probably. We are supposed to be intellectual, and education and work and hard work is our only way in life. We have to make ourselves worthy of being employed and to belong to a certain class of society, and we are extremely intellectual. That's what is going to take us ahead in life. So that's the belief, I think, that came from my immediate family when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. What that did to me is, until very, very recently, I believed it. uh, until very, very recently, and it's only in last 3 4 years I started questioning it. So yeah, I'll stop here. Want to hear from others.
Prachi, thank you so much for sharing. We can just do a popcorn round where anybody wants
Yeah.
to speak, they can go ahead.
Okay, please.
Does it have to be confined to religion?
Not at all. Any kind of faith that you think you follow, be it personal or social.
Actually, I'm from the south. I'm from Kerala, and came to Goa about 48 years ago. So, once when I went to the school, I was just catching up on my son's homework. So I was writing it down, but the school, the principal didn't want the parents to come and do that job. But somehow we needed to keep the child abreast of what was happening. So I was copying something down from the board, his homework, I think. And then there was this typical Goan lady, this is 48 years ago. So the Portuguese influence was still on there. So this lady came and I could see that she was struggling to write it down because she was Portuguese speaking, and so I took her book and I quickly noted it down and I gave it to her. So her eyes were dripping gratitude. She looked at me and then she said, and I spoke English. So she looked at me and she asked me, "What's your name?" So I said, "I'm Joan Rebello," but my Rebello name didn't go with my appearance, So again, she looked at me and then she said, "Where are you from?" So I said, "I'm from Kerala." And then she looked again, I could see the body language. Then she said, "But that doesn't matter." And I knew it mattered a lot, it really mattered a lot to her. But I could understand her because, that's her mindset, that's her upbringing, that's her. So these things you face often, very often, as I moved into my new flat, I found a lot of garbage around, and this lady who came with me, I said, "Why is this place so dirty?" And she said in Konkani to me, she says, "These Christians, they're like that." Okay. And another time, a Hindu lady had come, and somehow my identity doesn't get revealed because I wear a bindi and I wear a sari. Another time, a Hindu lady came with me, and when I said this thing to her, she said, "These Konkanos, these Hindus, they're like that." So see, this is the kind of barriers we have. It's not that we don't have it; we have it as well. but we somehow pretend it's not there.
It's true. It's true. I agree. I agree with every word you said. So, I was born into a Kashmiri Pandit family. My mother is a Manipuri Meitei. I think it was in 2019 when I was in a conference with students from Kashmir. So, I'm not from Kashmir. I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, but our family comes from Lahore. So, we were talking to students from Kashmir who were Kashmiri Muslims. And the non-Kashmiri people who were part of my team, they said, oh, so you must hate them, right? So you must not want to talk to them. I said, no, that's not true. I don't hate them. I want to talk to them. We're coming from the same identity. I still consider them my friends. But they somehow, through the conference, people kept saying, are you sure? Do you have any underlying prejudices? Do you want to do something about it? I was like, no, I'm fine. So that's how people perceive you to be, and oftentimes they may also push you towards feeling a certain way. The hate doesn't come inherently, it doesn't come from the within, but sometimes others might just force you a lot. And in order to also identify with the larger community that you actually belong to, you might have to also just agree for the sake of it. Sometimes I did not. I do have Kashmiri Muslim friends. I'm very happy about it. So I think, yeah, that's for me. Ganda, you have anything to say?
So I come from Goa. I completely know what Mrs. Ribello was talking about, and seen it all my life. I was born into a Hindu Brahmin family in Goa, and but I stayed out of Goa for quite some time now. It's been 20 years. I'm not living there. My whole family is there. Also, I turned vegetarian when I was 13. And Goans are non-vegetarian everybody knows that. We are fish eaters. And somehow it is so difficult to accept that choice that wherever I go today, into even family functions, I get served special food for me, which is not vegetarian. And it just doesn't get registered. So this is something that people have presumed about me just because I come from a particular community. I have seen what she said, because I married a husband. My husband is he's from Jharkhand, but he's born and brought up in Goa. So he speaks Konkani and all of that. But when I was getting married to him, that surname kind of popped up. And like she said, that surname was scrutinized. They come from an army background. So my father-in-law has lived in Goa for I think when we got married, he had completed something close to 48 years in Goa. And yet there was that divide, another community. And there was this whole distance that was there. Of course, that distance dissolved within 6 months of our marriage. But I chose, despite being a feminist, I chose to use my husband's name because I somehow wanted to bridge that divide. Because when I speak with my name in Konkani, there is a different connection. And I thought that could somewhere build the divide, at least within the people close to me. And it came as a surprise to a lot of people that I changed my name and used my husband's surname. But that's something that I thought that maybe I could somewhere bridge that gap. And for me, that was more important than my identity as such, because I'm anyways, most people know me by my first name, and I couldn't care about my surname so much. Yeah, so that's kind of, bringing that practicality of what Mrs. Ribello said in the way I also experienced it. And I experienced it from both sides, as part of the community and as somebody who's married outside that community.
Yeah.
I think that freedom of choice really matters here, because this is something very, very personal, right? So we can choose who we identify more with, who we want to be, and it's very less to do about what our community wants or how people perceive us to do. So it's
Yeah.
great that you hold on to your identity still, whichever it may be.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's like, but it does affect. It does affect in some cases what conversations I choose to be a part of in my family, in my close friend circle, and socially. Like if I can share more examples. Yeah, I belong to a Maharashtrian Brahmin family. My probably 2-3 generations back, people came here to Bombay for started working. So my family and my friends who are from similar backgrounds expect me to have certain territorial or related to language, some sort of pride, if I may call it. Like, Bombay belongs to Maharashtrians, or for example, because I'm a Brahmin, I should have certain respect for my heritage, certain teachings of certain political parties. I should not demean my own heritage and the language I speak and the region I belong to. And when I say that, I used to get into debates and say that, Bombay would not be what it is today if everyone around did not enter this land. It would, God knows what it would be. So why should we create this noise about, who belongs here and who shouldn't? And then I realized it's very futile to get into these discussions, because I'm not trying to prove a point to anybody. And I actually now don't care about if I belong to my own so-called group of friends and family. So that urge to argue, to prove a point, to probably pull them up, because I thought I was at a different space, that has disappeared, and I don't know what to do with it actually. Sometimes I get confused, and that is shrinking the kind of conversations I can get into with people.
maybe Payal can help us with that, when we go back to the room with the. We also have Baiju here. Would Baiju want to participate? Baiju, are you here with us? Okay, maybe not. We were supposed to join the room with Payal within 15 minutes. So I think we still have a minute left if anybody has anything to share. Or do you think we should go back to the room? Okay, I'm guessing nothing. Let me just quickly. I'm moving everyone to Payal's room.
We can just leave the room, I think, and then it will give us option.
I think you'll then go to the main room. That's what I'm thinking. But one second, let me just try.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm going to send you here to Payal's workshop. One second. June, ma'am, are you saying something because you're muted?
Okay. So thank you for being here, Pallavi.
Yeah, we're back.
You have to bring the others also.
Yeah, one second. I'll just get them back. In the meantime, you can just ask whatever questions.
Did you all get an opportunity to talk in the group, all of you?
Yes.
We just wait for the other group to come in and then. Thanks, Pallavi. Okay. I know that some of you were sharing in the other group and we got pulled here. But that's the reality of virtual this that we get pulled in sometimes. Okay. So thanks for sharing. And I was just wondering, having shared, what all you heard from others, how does it make you feel, and what are some of the connections that you may be making or patterns that you are noticing? So anyone who wants to share, what are the patterns you may be noticing, and having listened to others, how does that make you feel?
Should I share?
Yes, please.
So, Payal, what I noticed in our sharing, I felt that we all faced or saw something within our community, and we had our own way of processing it.
Hmm.
Each of us processed it I think it looked similar to me the way we processed it. But we all
Could you name that? Could you name that? How was the processing done? It may look similar, actually. It had same the process.
For example, all of us saw in a way a discrimination or a disconnect in the treatment, isolation kind of thing, or separation within our own communities or within communities in our spaces. And we all decided to do things which would either not make us really fit in, but make us belong. I think that's what we tried to do. And we decided that we would accept wholeheartedly whatever is going on, and we'd really not explain ourselves. But be aware that we will be looked at in a certain way, and we be comfortable with that awareness of being looked at in a certain way.
Yeah.
Fine. I think that was a pattern in the sharing that I noticed.
Yeah. I can add one line to that in the context of expansion, and I think we use the other word was shrinking, right? So we may feel that we have expanded our views in our heads, but whenever we go to a certain associate with certain group of people, be it family or friends, there is little bit of crossing that border again, maybe shrinking. So even if we are expanded here in our views, I think our presence is still driven by who's around us, and there is some shrinking and that kind of a feeling while going out there, putting yourself out there.
Like Tanda said in your sharing, Prachi, the shrinking is to be able to at least belong, if not fit in. Thanks for sharing that. How does it make you feel while you experienced or saw this pattern?
It raised questions, Payal, is that all that is there to it? I know it's not up to me to I would be another social cleanser if I take it upon me to keep proving my point or keep offering my perspective. But is that all to that? Can there be more? Do we have to stop at just expanding and shrinking, and is there more to it that we can do?
Thanks for sharing. Yes. So anybody else, what are the patterns that you noticed? And how does that make you feel? Or even if there were no patterns, what did you notice in people sharing, in your own sharing? Yes, Prajwal.
Oh, actually, I thought you meant generally patterns.
Yeah, you could share that.
So one thing that, because of the kind of conversations that are happening, made me think back. And I remember that in my school as a young girl, I went to a convent school, a Catholic school, and 50% of my classmates were Catholic, and the others were whatever other religious affiliations. And I was brought up as an atheist, and maybe in my class of 50, there were maybe one or two others who were also atheist. But we hung out together sometimes, and I was in the school which had a a college, a high school, a college, and also the convent. And so it was quite common for us to run up to the chapel, which was there in the convent, and kneel on the pew and drink the holy water and all that. And I mean, it was all very light. It was held very lightly. It was not a source to sort of get at each other or anything. I never sensed that as a young girl. But I feel that things have changed over the decades. And for instance, when I was working by then, that was like I started a full-time job about 30 years ago. And in my workplace, which was a workplace of scientists, it was a research institution, I found that these kind of conversations became suddenly very difficult. Although you would think that a scientific institution is one which is open to all kinds of conversations. It should be open to any conversation, because that is at the core of science, that we question, we debate, and we modify our views. That's the core of science. But if I said I'm an atheist, suddenly there would be I would sense a sort of a discomfort around the coffee table. And it was a deterrent for me to have that kind of conversations the next time. So I don't think this was just a characteristic of my institution. I think it characterizes the times that we live in. And I can't really explain, apart from saying that we have certain political structures which have reinforced conflict rather than reinforced coexistence and living together. That would be the way I would explain it. But I have no other explanation for this. And I think that's why this summit is also happening. And how we need to learn to sort of hold these things more lightly, and see religion and faith as a means to improve each of us, and question why there is conflict and hatred and so on, rather than being a thing that explains everything that we see around us, because it cannot explain everything that we see around us, but it can be a very powerful tool to explore each of us.
And in some way, Prajwal, what you're sharing is also a little bit of what Medha was sharing in the beginning, that it was not there earlier and this has suddenly become, so much in your face. So there is that transition of talking so much about one part of your identity being your religion and the faith that you look at. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Prajwal. Anyone else wants to share about something you noticed, and how does that make you feel? Mr. Bello, you want to share? I will unmute you. One sec. One sec. Could you just click? I've sent you a request.
Share something which has, left a very deep impression on my mind, and I think it will help. Because as I said at the beginning, I was very actively involved with the NSS in the college. And I had taken 3 lovely girls with me to do a survey of that particular slum. And it went on for about 20 days. Everything went so well. The girls really, could reach out to those women and the people, families. We took down all day. The day before we wound up, we said, now tomorrow will be, we just come and pay you a courtesy visit. So they were, themselves, every family, 2-3 families wanted. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It's breaking slightly.
It was breaking up, but now I can hear you.
Okay. So on the last day, we went to this place, a little tenement, I can't tell you, just a room, a small room. And, when we went there, they were so hospitable. They spread their mats, we sat down. And in our presence, one little part of them was their kitchen. So they, in our presence, they opened a milk packet. They made tea for us and served us biscuits. Everything was fine till then. Then when they gave us the tea, These girls saw them making the tea in my presence. They gave it to us in sparkling steel glasses. I immediately took the glass of tea, but these 3 girls just declined. They refused to take the tea. I'm looking at them up and down, no response. They wouldn't, just not have it. So I drank the tea and I was livid, when this happened. So we got out and I asked them, I said, give me one good reason why you didn't have that tea. And in one voice, what they said? Madam, our parents, we are Brahmins and our parents will be very upset if we have it. I said, what an exercise in futility. I said, 20 days we've bonded with these people and you go to their house and insult them like this. It didn't stop there. Can I continue? Yeah. So it didn't stop there. Then I was very, very upset about this. And when we had a university meet of all the NSS program officers, we were discussing this. And I said, how much of money is going down the drain? Is this worth it? I said, and I gave them this experience. Then the senior most person there, who's in charge of all the colleges, he says, madam, but my experience was very different. I come from the north, he says, he's from Perne. He says, I took my college students for a camp to a remote place in the north. And it was December, it was very cold. So though we were supposed to live in the tents for a day or two, we stayed there, but the children were, boys, they were shivering with cold. So I approached the headman, the sarpanch, and I said, see, this is what is happening. Our children come from, upper middle class families and they're finding it difficult to stay. So he says, that sarpanch was so generous. And he said, it's okay, no problem. They can come and, sleep in my veranda, in my house. I will share the place with them. So we did that. And then he also said to me, it's okay. It's all right if they are, if they are Christians and Muslims and what is that? Some different castes, Chamars and whatever the caste. He says, it's okay. It doesn't matter if they're that. When you all go away, when we finish with the camp, I'll clean the house with cow dung. Now, this man is justifying, he's only saying how generous this Brahmin was towards the other students. Oh my God, I said, what do I tell this man? Where is the dialogue?
Yeah, I just, just makes a breath go in me when I hear you say that. How are we talking about human beings like that? Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else wants to share anything? Any experience? How does it make you feel? Okay.
Now, what I'm saying, Pallavi, is this is so deeply entrenched, Will dialogue help? How far can we? We've had so many sessions like this. But what is it even making a dent?
Any thoughts? And maybe the dent it will make is only to the ones who are present about what it wants to do. There is as far that each person can make a choice.
Yeah, I think I want to answer to that question, where, I mean, again, maybe it's coming from my faith or what I believe in, but I feel that each one of us present here would take away something with us, and it all begins with personal transformation. So if we start transforming ourselves, our perceptions, and if we change ourselves and open ourselves to others, maybe the people around us will be hit by that little light, or maybe that, the hope to perhaps understand the other, or be open to understanding others. And we don't really have to change the world. Maybe if we just are open to understanding each other, things can start getting better. So yeah, that's something I wanted to share. It could be very hopeful and rosy, but I think if one person can think like that, I'm sure there must be others who can think like that, and perhaps that can lead to a chain of change. Yeah, thank you.
And I agree with Tanya when she says that Joan Ma'am's own life is such an example, and we all follow her so deeply and so respectfully. I think this is a process we need the calm because there is so much chaos. And if because there is that kind of difference, that's why we all are here to discuss, to collectively get to the solution. I think it's a process and it will take some time.
I feel when I see my son, the next generation, I feel, can I be instrumental in ensuring that he keeps that space? I feel extremely hopeful because the topics I couldn't talk about, I would have asked my parents, like, because we belong to this caste, why this? He asked these questions about gender, about race, about religion, and I'm very happy to see when he makes these statements that no, why can't that person is just another person, like. So if not through me, I feel, if I can pass it on to the next generation, that's what makes me feel hopeful. I don't, that's not the ultimate answer. I don't know if it's a dent enough, but I feel hopeful about the times that are coming.
Thank you.
Prajwal, you want to? Yeah, Prajwal, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I fully agree with everyone who said that dialogues are important, and I think they are really, really super important. But I also think that they should be an integral part of education overall, not just these special things where some of us, from the educated middle class come together, but they should be an important thing in schools, in whether primary schools, high schools, and so on, because I don't I'm not as hopeful as somebody else said, that just individual change, so-called, can result in it. Because, as I said, I've seen a very distinct deterioration, escalation of divisiveness over my lifetime. And so clearly the structures are reinforcing that, because obviously divisiveness is, the seeds of it are there in all of us, and that's where these dialogues can help. But if you have if you're in a structure which reinforces collegiality and living together and tolerance and harmony, then that seed of divisiveness is going to be suppressed, and your other positive things are going to get reinforced. Whereas if you're in a reverse kind of structure, those seeds of divisiveness are going to, I think, blossom. So we do need to be mindful of the structures as well, and I think we do need to work for structures, societal structures, I mean, which do not reinforce divisiveness while having dialogue as well. So they have to go hand in hand. I don't think we can say it's this or that.
Yeah, so I hear the voices of a systemic change and individual change. So it's really that spectrum, the individual and the systemic, and all of it is really important. Okay, and in some way, when Ms. Jones spoke about the dent, it really looked at what am I? It helped me look at what am I doing, and I was really looking at this question for all of us. What is your wish about how we could integrate these diversities? The faith, the religion, the status. There is so much for the world ahead of us. So if you were to look at some words, what are those words that you would wish show up in this integrated, safer, hopefully peaceful space? So could you just in your mind, think about some words, and then I want us to use our right brain process. But for that, I need you to look at some words. What are the words that you would want for this future? The future that looks safe, respectful, dignified, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give you a minute to think of some words. And if you want to put that, you could put that on the chat. Yeah. So let's get as many words as we want for the future. And if somebody is having a challenge typing, you could just let us know. We'll type it out. Naseem, Meta, Suhani, Sharwari, Tanya, waiting to look at some of your words. Das, Shushobha. Please keep your words coming in. What I am going to do is I'm going to request you for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to request you to go back to the same breakout room that you had stepped in. And I want you to create your own poem. Use your right brain. You may not be a poet, you may have never written a poem, that's okay. But together with the group, I want you to create at least 2 lines, if not more, of a poem, shairi, whatever but something that rings the heart with this future that you want. You already have some words here that all of you have created. So let's look at, if we were to put this together and we were to create 2 lines, 4 lines of a poem, of a shairi, of anything, what would that sound like? So this requires us to work together as one group, and we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We are in some way many different identities. So I'd like us to put that, what we want in the future, in the work that we're doing, right? So if we want connection, respect, listening, how can we do that while we are creating those 2 lines? Okay, so please click onto your, Pallavi, will you help me to put people so that it becomes faster? And if you can already do that by yourself, please get into those breakout rooms. We'll just be there for 5 max.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do we have more creative minds with Miss Joan and Pallavi and Baiju to probably
Can you
put a
update me on what happened while I was?
tinge to what Ganda you said?
Because we count on the younger ones to do this, but to my mind, I think first we need to look within. We need to look within.
Yeah.
And put ourselves to the test first, and be honest with ourselves. And then from that kind of an understanding, move out.
Yeah, I agree.
Only then will we be able to dispel all these, phobias that we have for persons of other communities, castes, creeds, whatever. So I think that's basically what I would like to say, to introspect, to go within yourself first, and then only you'd be able to do something. Otherwise, it will be very superficial. It will be very peripheral. We need to move out. And yes, and another thing is, the ignorance. A lot of this kind of walls are because we are ignorant of the other. How many of us at this age, I'm ashamed to say, that have not really read other religious texts to know, or to be able to sit on judgment of other people. There's so much, I'm sure, values remain the same in all faiths. Yeah, rituals and symbols, and these things could be different, but basically we are all talking the language of love and understanding. I don't know how to put that in poetry. I'm sure one of the
that's beautiful. I think we can opt out for verse and not poetry and put this
I didn't see the words. I didn't see the words.
That is poetry. What she said is poetry. I think it's beautiful. Ma'am, I think you should do this on behalf of all of us.
You put it down, my God, the way you want to, but you know, my ideas, you just articulate what I have said, because I feel very deeply about this. I've got friends across the board, such beautiful people. And I feel sad that somewhere we still have these mind blocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't see the words that came up, the words that others had put. What are the words that came up?
So somebody wrote
This-
equity.
Pardon?
Somebody wrote equity.
Okay.
Yeah, and somebody wrote. Okay, the other chat is like not visible on my screen.
It is open
Maybe because I
mind.
joined later.
Yeah, kindness and love, appreciate, equity, knowing self, introspection, ignorance. Should we try something like from this, moving from this towards like maybe that's what you were saying, right? Start with ourselves and start with our inner world and move to the whole or move to the society.
Yes, that's what.
And with whatever challenges that you have, the intent of us to close with this was to put you through the same process that happens right now. It was just an intellectual challenge, right? But when we get into our day-to-day work, into our day-to-day lives, the challenges are so many, and sometimes we go back to our most normal and most uh, pet style of behaving a certain way with no matter how many pledges and wishes and intentions we have. So I hope together as a group you were able to challenge yourself to bring in some of these creative two lines, whatever it may sound like. Like one of you said in the group, it is not going in for any competition. It is just here for us to inspire us to see that even though we are different with our different identities and background, we can still do something together. So, which group would like to share your first few lines? And this is work in progress. Any group?
So Tasneem was representing our group, and she created a beautiful poetry weaving in all the words that we had put. I'd request her to please.
Yes, Tasneem, you want to share?
Yeah, I'll be doing it.
Please.
Do not judge. Do not judge me what I wear. Do not judge me what I believe in. Accept me as a Muslim Bohra woman. Though, accept me as a Muslim Bohra woman, though, who loves to mix and mingle with people. I have visited Sri Siddhi Vinayak temple. I have ate God's prasad, and I have recited Gayatri Mantra. Please do not judge and assume instead. Have broadened horizon, be affectionate, live and let live.
Thank you, Tasneem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yes, who'd like to go next?
June ma'am said something so poetically beautiful. We didn't even think we needed to sort of make poetry around it. Joan ma'am, it's a request. Can you please repeat what you said? It was so beautiful.
I said, look within before we look without. Okay. And also know better the we before we discriminate the other. I hope I put it.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Pallavi, can we have this written somewhere so we can give it to the community? Also, Tasneem, can you share this with us on chat so we can take
Sure.
it forward? Yeah. Okay. Is anybody inspired for an impromptu 2 lines? And even if it's copied right now, we'll give you that liberty.
Remember the lines of Gandhi? I don't know if I'm quoting him correctly. He said, I will keep my doors and windows wide open and let the cultures and of other countries blow in, while I will not let myself be blown away. So we're not talking about losing our culture, losing our identities. We keep them, but we keep our doors and windows wide open to, let in other things too as well.
Shall I share one?
Yes, please, Sarvari.
This is related. It is a two-line share, and the manzil we are talking about is a free world without any judgments. So I'm relating it to that. मंजिल तो चलकर ही मिलती है भटक कर ही सही मंजिल तो चलकर ही मिलती है भटक कर ही सही गुमराह तो वो है जो घर से निकले ही नहीं.
Oh, beautiful. Does anyone need a translation? No. Yes, Ms. Joan needs. Sarvari, is it possible for you to translate it?
So, मंजिल तो चलकर ही मिलती है भटक कर ही सही. So, you will reach the destination by walking and maybe roaming around without knowing the path. And the second line was गुमराह तो वो है जो घर से निकले ही नहीं. So the people who are not even going out and finding their path are the one who are ignorant of the destination. Maybe I'm I'm right in having the meaning of
Yeah,
it.
the ones who have lost their way. The ones who have lost their way are the ones
They are
who have
already lost
stayed at
their
home.
way, who have not gone out even to find the destination. Right. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarvari. Okay. Okay. Anybody else wants to share something? So let's do a checkout and a quick checkout on how you stepping out. Just one sentence, one word. How are you stepping out?
I think I'm more informed and not just opinionated, and I really enjoyed this.
Pallavi, you want to tag someone else so that we meet your timeline also?
We literally have
That's
3-4 minutes to go. Okay, Ganda, you want to go ahead quickly?
I'm stepping out hopeful.
You want to tag someone, Ganda?
Prajwal.
So, what do you want me to do?
What are you stepping out? How are you stepping out, Prajwal?
Oh, like that. I see. Hoping to learn how to be hopeful.
Okay. Okay, you want to tag someone, Prajwal? Who goes next?
Prachi.
I am reflective. I'm still taking the question back. What is more to this and what's my role in this? Tanya, do you want to go next?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I'm feeling energized to work towards building cultures of peace and love. So that's my takeaway. And I would love to hear from Medha.
Hi.
Yeah, you can.
I'm feeling more confident and I'm also happy that I'm not wrong, because all these voices have told me that what I've been doing all this long is really what is needed. So peace be it. That is the motto of my life.
You want to go next? Miss Joan, do you want to go next? How are you stepping out?
Of course, I go back enriched. But for me, I see a lot of hope in young people, because for me, time is ticking. Okay. And it would be so great for me to empower women like these, would be my be all and end all in the few years that I've left. And I see a lot of hope in these young people. Thank you.
Naseem, you want to go next? And then Sharvari, you could go. Naseem, you want to share? How are you stepping out?
Sorry, could you repeat it? Because I was just typing I was just engrossed in the typing of the 2-line poems. Could you just repeat?
Just asking, how are you stepping out?
From the breakout room? Am I
From this
supposed to join
workshop?
another room?
No, from this workshop, how are you stepping out? How are you feeling?
Okay. The takeaways. Frankly speaking, I really want to work something for the marginalized women, and especially in terms of religion perspective, which is a major hindrance for them to come out from their shell. So this is something what I would love to work, and these are some of the platforms which gives me some boost up. So I would love to always attend and hear the different panelists and the ladies especially who have lots of knowledge, to somewhere getting myself updated and energized more to work towards this campaign. Hope so in future.
Sharvari, do you want to share?
Yeah, it was very nice to interact with these people and having their thoughts listen. It has definitely broadened my perspective towards this interfaith.
Right. So thank you, everyone. I missed sharing with you. This process has been a women-led process, not planned, but just happened. So right now, I hope the feminine energy takes us to wherever we are going to bring this hope alive. So see you all the other side. I'm stepping out with a lot of experiences, taking back your voices, your wishes and hopes, and hoping to bring that into some of what I do. Over to you, Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Payal. We've come to the end of the session. I think it was really, really enriching. Like most of us would agree, it was really nice, and I'm energized. But I guess we have 1 more minute left, and I'll quickly thank Payal and everybody here. So thank you, Payal, for sharing your insights with us. I'm sure all of us take back a lot of learnings from you. And thank you, everyone, for joining this session. You can feel free to go back to the main room and network with other people there. If you wish to take a break right now, we are anyway breaking for lunch, but make sure that you do join us again at the same Zoom link before 2 p.m. We'll begin the next set of 3 tracks at 2 p.m. sharp. Please look at the summit schedule to choose the next session you wish to attend. And it was wonderful being with you all here. I'm so glad I was part of this workshop. Thank you so much, Payal. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're breaking for lunch now.
For everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you leave the breakout room and you can also leave the meeting, whichever you want.
Short format. Okay. I've sent Dr. Koshi.
Like I said, we can proceed for our lunch breaks now. If you all want, you all can turn off your cameras and go off for an hour, and we start back at 2 again. Sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Urmi ma'am. Thank you, Sagar.
Thank you.
welcome back to the main room, everyone. Now we're slipping into a lunch break. However, please feel free to stay on and also network with each other if you like. We will begin the next set of tracks at 2 p.m. India time. So that's, well, a little less than an hour from now. So if you could join in a few minutes before 2 p.m. India time so that you can choose your tracks and accordingly go forward from there. And of course, please feel free to forward the Zoom link to anyone else who you think might be interested in the upcoming sessions. And I'll also post a link to the schedule, which you can refer to if you'd like to choose your tracks for the upcoming session. I've just put up the schedule on chat here. So yeah, thanks for joining us so far, and I hope you continue to stay on for the rest of the summit. The summit team will be around. Some of us might be off video for a little bit, but we are around in case you have any questions about the Samvaad project or Seeds of Peace in general.
Whoever is recording, please stop recording.